And so we ask ourselves, will our actions echo across the centuries?
Hey, people. Seth here.
Dad's
I'm
here.
just kidding.
His
Like a
sound
handful
quality
of-
has regressed back to the olden days.
Yeah, my sound card on my laptop died, so I'm on a phone. I'm on a flip phone.
Pong's
Speaker.
calling us from prison.
He's on the Motorola Razr in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
This is just like
Do you get those? Do you get those ads on Instagram for like Children of Con, where it's like, what if SpongeBob did live in a pineapple under the sea, but he was actually a Slovenian prince, and instead of working at the Krusty Krab, he worked a kebab stand in the streets of wherever. Dude, oh my god, they're pretty funny actually. Even though they're ads for like really like gimmicky like polos and shirts, but
He's
it's
got
still
like
funny.
the Caribbean ads, dude. That's freaky.
It's not Caribbean, it's American.
It's the Caribbean.
Frozen bikini bottom.
No, yeah.
Someone listening is gonna know because they're gonna get the ads too for childrenofcon.com.
Bro, I hear Forever Young playing right now.
I don't know. Someone drove past playing. I'm
That's so
surprised he picked that up. That's crazy, dude. That's weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, dude. I'm just on my porch right now having a cigar. Imported Ashton, made by hand.
Yeah,
Since I'm no longer tethered to the square machine.
Dad's
known as
back
the
from
laptop.
getting milk. He ended up in prison.
Yeah,
We got him on a collect phone call.
Yeah,
He smuggled the razor in with his booty hole.
dude. Speaking of prison,
In his ass.
Boiling ass.
speaking of prison, I started Muay Thai recently.
Okay.
That's
I don't
pretty
think
cool.
those two things go in the same sentence, but I just figured like fighting and prison go together. But I started it. I'm abysmal at it. I'm abysmal.
That's
Well,
like the
You're not a.
that's like the worst thing where you start a martial art and you just get tossed around for several months. You're just like, fuck this.
It's also because
Eventually you
you're
get
not
better.
I haven't even sparred.
5'6".
Like most of what I do, because I only have enough time to do like one day a week.
Mhm.
I end up only doing like drill days. But like, what I need to do is I need to get shin guards and a mouthpiece. So most of what I do is just been drilling, which is fine. But I'd say it's like
My drill was
it's self.
canceled because of the government shutdown.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Dude.
Was it?
We can't get TWIC cards
That's
because of the government shutdown. So now I don't even have to go to work.
Well, oh really?
Yeah, we have his job we're supposed to get TWIC cards for, and it's like can't get them. So
I heard they're not paying the military, but that's also like what they always say for every government shutdown. And then they pay the military, so nothing happens.
Well, they should have been paid like yesterday.
Oh shit! Yeah, they should have been paid yesterday.
Yeah, I remember I was at a course during the government shutdown in 2018, and they told us like, hey, if the government doesn't start back up by Monday or whatever, everybody has to leave. That if your unit isn't like already here training, and so then my unit was not there, so I was like, all right, I got to leave. So I sat on the phone with I can't remember, not DTS, but like the travel people that arrange.
Yeah,
everything.
DTS.
Well, it wasn't DTS. It was like I can't remember the company name that handles like all the travel, city travel, CI travel. And so I sat on the phone on hold from them for like 45 minutes. They answer. I get my plane ticket switched. And then the next day was Monday, and then we get there, and then they told us like, "Oh, government's back up. Rearrange your phone or rearrange your tickets again to leave on the normal day." So I had to call back again. But
You should have just stolen an Apache and just blown up the office.
that's true. I could have, but on the bright side, the course that I was at was in the mountains, and because we had waited so long because of the shutdown and everything, we didn't get skis. And all the skis were gone by the time that we knew that we were going to continue our course, so I didn't have to ski. So that was cool.
why is that a good thing?
Fuck, man. I kind of would. Yeah, I kind of would like to learn how to ski. Just to
really
say
feel
you've
like-
done it.
I just didn't really feel like skiing. It's not something where I was like,
Bro, it's your
to
people.
carry skis up the side of a mountain, and then
You were born to do it.
That's how they get around in Agartha.
we did a lot of snowshoeing.
It's true. Snowshoeing
Mm.
school.
I did like a
Okay,
whole
so-
long movement in snowshoes in the mountains, and it was like,
That's still pretty cool. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
that's
kind of
respect.
sucked though, because I remember there was one point where, because we weren't allowed to use the roads, so there's like roads that go all up the mountain. This is in Bridgeport in the Mountain Warfare Training Center, and so there's one point where we're down, and we like got to another site, and then got because it was for a mountain comm course, so there's like a ton of us in there, and like, you know, most of the guys in the course were actually infantry guys, which was kind of funny. And so we set up a little comm site, and then we eat lunch, and then we're gonna keep going. And the instructor that was with us, we're all standing. He's like, all right, at this point, like, you guys have to use the road to get up to the top of the mountain. And we're like, okay, sweet. And the snow is all compacted down because during the winter time they have tracked like little vehicles that they use to get up and down the mountain. And they have like track conversions for like UTVs and stuff. It's actually really cool. And so we're hanging out, and then he points to the tallest dude in the group. He goes, "Oh, this guy's dead." And I'll just go, "Oh, okay." And then he's like, "Well, you guys need to carry him up the mountain." And we're like, "Oh, yeah." So we pull up the sked that we have, and we tie them all up, and we start carrying up the mountain. And we don't take our snowshoes off, and we're walking up like compacted snow up this super steep mountain with a casualty. And it was very terrible.
What if you just like let him go? The bro just has to ride down.
That's fucking sick.
Well, we got
Honestly,
to the top, and then they were like, "All right, he's alive again." And we're like, "Okay, cool."
you should have. The moment they said that, you should have just kicked the sked code down the road.
Honestly, I think we were dragging it for most of it, if I remember correctly. And this guy was like freezing in it because he's just being
dragging it through the snow.
Plastic. Those skeds are pretty sweet though. There's like a special way you got to rope them in, and then you can have helicopters come and pick them up and stuff.
Sked codes are such a cool dudes. Okay, so here's the big thing. So most people, when they do their training on the civilian side, they don't factor in casualties.
Yeah.
And when they don't factor in casualties, they might factor them in terms of he's dead, but then there's no follow-on action, and it's such a failure to get a good training rep. Like, you know, this dude's dead, and then like the OC or whatever just starts saying like, you know, like you go through your actions for tactical field care, or what is it? I forget what they call care under fire. So, you know, obviously win the fight or create a lull in the fight, then you can actually get to your medical stuff. So you fight, then you get to the lull, you know, you start assessing your patient, fucking tourniquets and whatnot. March, you go through your whole thing, but then like no one ever talks about the evac either, or the transport. So it's like, all right, well, did anyone bring a litter? No. All right. Did anyone bring a Skedco? No. Is there a truck? No. How are we going to move this guy? I don't know. Fuck. And if you've done it before, you learn like the fun tricks of the trade. Like if it's summer, you know, you can always pull out one of your BDUs or something and take off your BDU top and string it through 2 logs, and you can make a very poor man's litter. It sucks, but it's better than, you know, not carrying the fucking
You could
dude.
take off your pants and make a life jacket.
Yeah, you could
just for no reason.
Brother, we're in a landlocked state.
you walk down to the the creek. Everyone's like, "What are you doing? We have a casualty." To go, I gotta make a life jacket. And they go, "Why?" I just do. That's one thing that like I have one of those. I can't remember what the actual term is. It's like a North American Rescue litter thing. It's like soft. And
yeah, I have one too. One of the guys that you used to deal with kind of turned me on to it, and it was a Black Hawk one. And it's just like a big like tarp thing, like man-sized tarp thing with just like handles hard sewn into the sides.
Yeah.
Well, you can just roll it up.
Casualties back in the spring when we did a thing. And dude, carrying those guys on that thing was absolutely atrocious.
It would have been easier to
dude,
literally physically carry them over your shoulder.
Yeah, honestly.
I tried.
That's why like the Darcy strap and stuff is so useful.
What's
too.
the strap?
What is that? Are you allowed to
Oh,
talk about
fuck.
that?
Yeah, of course. It's like common knowledge. I'm kind of shocked you guys didn't know about it. It's like the one thing before
Yo,
the
we
big
need to go to
test
Darcy,
craze.
man. We got to find a way to get over there.
Talk to Rich.
Hey,
But
Rich.
what's this thing called? Oh, the Darcy strap is it's just basically like every man on the team on an entry team or whatever. It's not limited to entry teams, but you'll most likely see it there because it's from the law enforcement counterterrorism course, among other courses. But they teach it. It's not like secret knowledge. But it's just basically a strap that you hook to your belt, and it's like hooked to your, like it's a big carabiner. It's weaved into your plate carrier, and then it hooks onto the back of your belt. And so what happens is if you go down as a casualty and you're non-ambulatory, they grab that carabiner, they pull it out, and you can like hook it onto your belt. You can hook it out like you, the person moving the casualty, you grab theirs, and you can. It's a better way to move them than grabbing them by the armpits, which is okay, or trying to pull them by like the plate carrier strap or which sucks. If you've ever done that, it sucks.
Yeah, it does. And then it also like screws them up because their plate carrier rides super high and their plate just jabs into their throat.
And it's not comfortable, or God forbid, if they're not conscious, they're not going to be there to tell you like I can't breathe. They're just going to pass out.
And then you pull them with a strap from their belt like the wrong way through a door, and they just like bend backwards in half. And you just pull them through like a keyhole. And
I'm telling you, it works. It works. What do you see?
No. It sounds. Is it like tubular nylon, or is it like a aircraft
it's tubular nylon.
retention
It's
strap?
tubular nylon. Usually how it was before is dudes would make them. I think Spiritus, because they're real close to Darcy. They make an attachment specifically for it, like a handle or something.
Do you have to go with one prepared, or?
I had one prepared. It's good to have it because I'm not going to talk too much about the course, but the course involves people going down as casualties, and you have to move them. You got to figure that out. So if they're non-ambulatory, guess what you're doing? You got to move that fucker, and it's not. Let's just say that the circumstances you have to move them under
are probably them.
Yeah, but the circumstances are not. It's not great. It's not.
I would imagine not.
I mean, for one, how they became a casualty, but two, like the other conditions, the situation is just not fun. I mean, it's fun, but it's not like it's not easy. Let's put it that way. It's not designed for it to be easy for you. So it's a cool thing, and it's relatively unobtrusive. And if every guy on a team has one, that's an option to move them. But I've never tried moving someone in like brush using one, but I've done it in like on concrete.
Well, we used one of those cheap litters, and it was horrible. They make better ones, obviously.
Well, there's nothing better than a Sketco in my opinion, because the Sketco is literally a sled. It's smooth. You just drag them.
Yeah, we were thinking about that too, but they make like better quality ones with like better handles and longer loops and better material. I had like one of those like cheap disposable kind of ones you get. I forget who makes it. You
could make a litter out of a poncho too, but it's like you said, it sucks.
Yeah, if you cut staves, it would have been easier. But I mean, like,
of course,
technically, we're like in a far ambush. You know what I mean? So,
well, I mean, you still got to move the guy after some time. Immediately, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's just
I was convinced it would have been like a lot of times, and that's why I was holding our friend like a baby, Tyler, at the last event over the weekend, because I just wanted to see, like, he went down. We had like kind of like a not like a heat casualty, but bro was just feeling not good. And
it was like extreme dehydration and like not eating and stuff.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, because it was like that night. Like we all came at like late at night after a whole long day. Everyone went to work and travel and stuff like that, and then you go, and then it's 3 a.m. and stuff like that happens. But anyway. Because we're like trying to debating about going to get the vehicles and staging them by us or bringing them to the vehicles or what we're going to do or whatever. But anyway, when we finally broke down for at NDEX, I just was like, let me just heft this guy. Let me just see And sure enough, I mean, aside from if you're like an average sized dude, I feel like you could be carried. You know what I mean?
Well, you're also a big guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you're just an
I
all
was just
around.
like, let me just pick this boy up.
This man is the
Speaking
most
of training,
dude in New
speaking of
York.
training, one thing I like, so I saw that Brent had that first training exercise at his new place in
Yes,
Texas.
indeed.
And what was it? I forget what they're called, Light Fighters Anonymous or something.
Yeah, that's
or
like
another.
this guy. That's like the guy's podcast or something that he has. Life Fighter Studies Group is the people who went.
Okay, so that's the name of the group. Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw their thing. No, okay, cool. There you go. No, I was like, I swear I've spoken to this person before.
Yeah, Tyler Jackson was on the podcast.
There you go. Okay, there you go. Now that I have an actual name, I can kind of put it 2 and 2 together. Anyways, they were at they did like a 24-hour exercise or whatever.
Yeah, it was
very good.
It was like their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very.
They're
good
sharp. They're sharp.
I mean, it was good in that I liked watching a whole exercise with the same group from start to finish, because you get to see, and this is not dogging on them, and I almost like I'm gonna just preempt everything else I say by saying that while I do have criticisms, I am not the one in the field making these decisions, and for all you see in a video, there's plenty you don't. So I will not criticize. Like I can say like I don't think I would have made that same decision, and here's why in certain situations. But also, like, as always, kudos to the dude in the arena, the man in the arena, actually going out there and doing it. And they got all their dudes out there to do it, to the point they had a technical as well.
Yeah,
with an M1919 or whatever mounted onto it.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that. And I like I said, I don't really want to make this a criticism thing, nor do I want to just make this like a big like, oh, let's do commentary on a video. But I'll say this: I am watching how they, and if you go and watch the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. So how they did it is their infill was a dismounted infill with rucks on each guy, with the technical and tail. And the technical had about 4 packs in it: the gunner, the driver, and then like 2 others inside. It might have been more, it might have been less, but that's about what I remember watching. And I'm conflicted as to how I feel about that infill, because, like spoiler alert or whatever, but so they take contact once they get into the AO. Right. And so the dismounts they break brush, but the initial contact is to the technical, and it's hit from a direction it's not looking at. It's trail and there's no rear security. However you want to handle that, I don't care. I'm not criticizing that. But because the technical was loaded up with dudes, you immediately had like 4 guys just dead, along with one of your machine guns is just inoperable because they're dead. All the occupants, the vehicle's gone. And you have all these dudes that just rucked however far they rucked in full kit in the Texas heat. And I can't just thinking about it and how hard it must have been to react to that after just finishing like a movement.
Well, I could.
What I'll say. Let me just finish my thought. What I'll say is this: I wonder if the technical as a concept has been glorified a lot, and we kind of need to take a step back and think more along the lines of vehicles are logistics transports and personnel transports. Granted, in this case, if it had been a personnel transport, you would have had a serious mass casualty event. But I'm wondering if it would have been better to have most of those dudes, or like an element of those dudes, move trail or rear without the rucks, all their rucks in the trucks, and then just have the machine gunner dismounted. because just based off the terrain, because if you see the video, you see the terrain, it's very dense. Like you're not breaking brush with that truck. And you're on just a road. So you're very limited as to the mobility of a vehicle, which is the whole kind of the big reason to have a vehicle is mobility. So in that circumstance, I'm wondering if it would have just made sense to pull off the gun, throw more rucks on there, and just have skirmishers, which is kind of where motorized infantry is the goal for like an actual military unit. Is like it's great if you don't have to worry about your logistics. You're on the truck or you follow the truck, you take contact, and you're not as gassed out because you're not carrying an extra 35, 40, 50 pounds on your back. You just have your assault pack with whatever you need to get you through 12 hours and ammo and water, and that's it. So I don't know. It's just food for thought.
We had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I talked to Brent about it for a minute before and after the event, and the whole. I mean, you guys can have him on again and talk to him about it. I'm sure he'd be excited to tell you all about it. But basically, the idea, it's just this was like a proof of concept to see how,
of course,
how an FTX would go, and it ended up being like 5.25 miles, which is not a small amount in, like you said, the Texas heat. So they had not known what to expect, so they just had rucks. They overpacked, obviously, like that.
And I fully accept that as a reasoning. Like I get it as a reasoning. You're going in there with a certain preconceived notion because it's unfamiliar terrain. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what you're in for. For all they knew, they were going to even pass the map recon. You could come through, and then all of a sudden you finish your movement, and there's just a giant field where the technical would have been, the king, an elevated machine gun position that you can keep, in defilade or at least far away. So you're forcing your op for to use marksmanship. And to me, that's kind of where the technical excels. That's why the technical, I think, is so cool in the desert, because you have these really long sight lines, and all you need to do is you need to just get your Dishka with tracers, and you just need to figure out where your beaten zone is for that range. And then, you just fire from that spot, turn the engine over, drive somewhere else, fire again. And you keep doing that, and you're going to outrange small arms if you're, let's say you're using a Dishka, a 13 millimeter machine gun or a 50 cal, whatever you're using. Like, your max range it's a fucking over a kilometer. You're comparing that to an AR where, yeah, sure, I'd love to hear, everyone loves to talk about how far you can push the AR. That's true, but your average dude with an M16 and irons or an ACOG is probably pushing 600, 700 meters if he's good. So, like, you're still outranging them with the gun. So it's food for thought, man. I don't know.
I think that the technical as a concept is usable, but in that sense, it would be a support for the logistics. So, like if you have think about any time that military wise that you have a convoy go somewhere, like a log train of some sort. So you have food and, basically different classes of your supply that are going to support somebody else that's in a fight or in a defensive position or whatever. Generally, they're going to have a truck with they're going to have a gun truck with them. Same reason why Chinooks, which are treated by the Army in general, right? Assault support is just like Humvees in the sky or like a 7-ton in the sky, like a school bus. That's part of the reason why Red Wings went so south, was because they were supposed to have armed escorts with them, and they didn't. And in this case, the armed escorts can use their thermal sensors and stuff like that to see the guys that are about to shoot RPGs at you or whatever. But the technical as a whole thing, I think that it's a good thing to utilize, but I think that the execution of a lot of it is bad. Like when we did our spring thing, like our force on force, then we had a technical on our side. Now the technical on our side was useful. And I will say too, that the psychological effect was there. Like we have a video from
and that's a huge thing too. There's nothing the thing is so when I almost want to say when the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the New World, they arrived on fucking giant wooden ships with sails, and then they dismounted dudes in armor on horses. And it must have been the most terrifying shit in the world. I think there are anecdotes where they say like these are monsters coming off of these boats, because at first they couldn't recognize that it was a man sitting on an animal. They just saw like a giant they saw a centaur with a fucking blunderbuss and a sword.
Well, so we have a video from like the guy that was leading the op force. So they're driving, and we had talked about this where basically, we were going to hit like different objectives that had been planted out the day before by me and the other guy, and so we roll out at night because we limited it to one objective at night, so that way if guys were showing up late or throughout the night, like nobody got a head start on the other person. Or it's like no team got a head start on the other team. So we went out at night, picked up our one, and it was actually really nice too, because so we had two Vics, two trucks that we were using. One was like a pickup truck with a cab on it, or like cap on the bed, and we could fit. I think we crammed like 6 guys in there
with their rucks and everything.
Well, we were mostly day packing it. We weren't bringing rucks. It's like, it was like a 24-hour thing overall.
Well, but that's like where I go with the skirmisher concept, right? And I think that's where like the civilian, group, preparedness group or whatever, that's where it excels. Is you don't really like, everyone loves to talk about light infantry, and trust me, it's cool fucking carrying everything in the kitchen sink on your back and going to setting up your ORP, dishing your rucks, and like moving on to the objective. I'd rather be a skirmisher, dude. I'd rather have nothing but my plate carrier, my helmet, and fucking mags, frags, and water, and like snacks, and just fucking jump out of this truck and immediately start fighting dudes. And then I don't have to worry about, oh, fuck, am I going to run out of water because we have water jugs in the truck? Oh, fuck, what am I going to sleep on? Because we have like all sleep equipment in our rucks or whatever is all sea bags or duffels stowed in the truck. So like it's not a huge concern, and you don't have to worry about that. You stash the vehicle and then you still treat it as the ORP, but it's a little different because your guys are jumping into that fight fresh. They're not coming in off of in this case, like a 5-mile ruck. Yeah. They're literally jumping off the truck, ready to run, ready to fight. And you and I, as we all know, like the guy who moves faster and is able to get in position faster and get all his guns up is probably the one that's going to win the fight.
Yeah. And like, even I had made a little speedball for resupply with another combat load of blanks, so 6 mags with the initial mag is a 40-rounder. I think I'd stuck a smoke grenade in there, and then like 2 bottles of water, and I fit it all in like a Marine Corps sustainment pouch. That you could buy those for like $4 at a surplus store, but I have like 40 of them in my garage, and I just shoved all that stuff in there and I put it underneath the seat of the driver of the one Vic, and I was like, hey, if I ask for a speedball, throw this at me. He's like, all right, cool. It is nice, but this helmet cam, it was funny because like we ran out, got our objective, and then we were like, well, we're not going to camp out all night because per the rules you could move within like 200 yards of the next objective, and then we didn't want to like set up because the objectives that we were hitting were all like separate order, and so I was like, all right, let's just go back to basically us and the OPFOR had all decided to do the same thing unknowingly. Like, we're just going to go back to our camp and hang out. And then the next morning, we're just going to leave a little early and go. So anyway, we get a late start. This trail, like leading from where our staging area was onto the main, like north-south running road that was going to lead us into all these like little ORV trails that we were taking through. It's like super rough. So we're taking forever. We're getting there. We have all the guys go out on foot ahead of time, like, secure the intersection, the trucks roll up, we all mount up. And then it's like, as soon as we get into the second Vic, we see just this, this Land Cruiser pass in front of us. And then the gun just opens up on them. And then, we started chasing them. And then like one of the guys fell off the truck as soon as we were leaving. And we had to stop and get him. But it was funny because from the helmet cam footage, you see them and they see the front of the truck and they're like, "Oh, I don't recognize that. It must be campers." And then they get a little bit closer because the trees were obscuring them from the gun. And then all of a sudden they see the gun and they just like freak out. But it was funny. In our case, the gun that we were using was just the quote unquote LSW. The one guy had mounted.
That's a whole thing to fucking talk about. There are so many belt feds now. There's so many belt fed options now that FRTs are like a thing.
And so that was the thing, was that one of the what's the cryo? What's
cryo structure? I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Cryo structure belt fed. You put it onto like an 80% lower or something. But,
yeah.
Anyway, that's what was going to be used. And long story short, it wasn't there in time. I know a couple people have had issues with them shipping in time and everything else. But so the guys were like, all right, we're just going to use this like spare gun that we have and throw a one of the wide open triggers on it.
Yeah.
Well, the wide open trigger ended up shearing during one of the engagements, but
that's what you want.
What's that?
That's what you want.
Yeah, it was peak.
You just wanted to fucking break.
Yeah, he had a D60, and then I don't think that we actually had any reliability problems with it, which I know that the D60s are pretty hit or miss. And then he was like tethered into the mount and everything. It was pretty funny, but
yeah, it was cool to see them roll up when we were dumped out of the trucks and like we're like firing at this. It was an ambush, I suppose.
It's more of a meeting engagement if you were both moving.
No, they were out of their vehicles in the woods.
Yeah, basically after we had chased them, we they had turned down the side, like a side road leading into the network of trails, and the lead Vic, that was the technical, had continued going. I don't think that he was able to turn in time, and then we had turned, established like a base of fire, and then we were getting ready to move, and then the truck comes up from the side of the road and then just starts shooting into the woods at everybody.
Yeah, that felt good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think that and that's one of the things is that it's a support, right? It's
your support by fire.
Exactly. And
plus,
it's
like working
it's
around
no different than just a dude with a machine gun, except you're just moving. But I think that it's where it shines is that it's able to quickly establish a base of fire to provide suppression for guys getting out of the vehicles or into the vehicles if you're trying to make like a hasty.
And that's where your motorized element is going to excel. Is literally you have, in the Army, the ye old motorized formation was a few Humvees with 50 caliber Mark 19s, and then troop transport might be like a deuce and a half or whatever the fuck you're picking, and then dudes just dump out of it, and then those machine guns are getting online and they're opening up and they're setting up your support by fire. So you don't have to worry about dudes getting on your 240s, your weapon squad or whatever. It's just all your guys getting down and they're fucking the assault element now.
Yeah. No, exactly. It was I haven't seen the video of the light fighter study group and like Brent's.
It's a good video worth watching. I'll say this about every video. There's no such thing as a perfect element doing a perfect patrol. I'm not saying theirs is bad. I think they made a lot of decisions based off of what information was presented, and they made like the right decisions, or they made, they reacted appropriately to the problems they were given. Because you can, in training, that's the place to make mistakes, or, if you get caught with your pants down, and it's more important to see how you react to getting caught with your pants down than it is to say, oh, I was never caught with my pants down. I mean, that's the goal, but we have to be realistic about the capabilities of these groups where they're training, X amount of times a year versus like it's their profession and it's all their profession. Yeah. So it's good. I don't want to turn this into a criticism video or like a glazing video either. where like it's like, oh fuck, they were perfect, it was amazing, or like, oh fuck, they suck. It's neither of those. But one thing I will say about Brent's videos in general, where he makes these really long form exercise videos, where like you'll follow the group, and in this case, you're following the same group of guys. Like it's not like we're switching between the op 4 and blue 4 constantly. It's like we're mostly following the blue 4, and then we'll cut to the op 4 a few times, but like it's the main highlight is the blue 4's journey, so to speak. It's very good because you get to see the progression of not just their operation or whatever, or their exercise, but like how the leadership is acting, this amount of time into the exercise versus like, from the beginning to the end.
I should try to find you the old archive footage of One Shepherd from back in the day, like way before I had ever been there. So like you're talking like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they've been around for a while. But like, dude, some of the videos, you can still find them, and I'll try to find them for you. But they had like a dedicated camera, like combat cameraman, and they were like very well documented exercises.
And that's really good. I think something that's kind of lost in a lot of exercises is the documentation, because you want to have something.
Yeah. Like
you want to have something. Exactly. You want to be able to, a football team films their plays, and then they go back and watch after the game, and they're like, all right, what do we do good? What do we do bad? What plays worked well against this team? Well, what tactics was this team using? And it's the same thing for this. You've got shoot houses have catwalks, so you can watch it in real time. But, like I know very elite units, their shoot houses have cameras as well, and they're recording every run. So
yeah. GoPro footage is better than nothing, obviously, but like having a third party filming is a completely different thing because they can float. You know what I mean? And you can
GoPro footage is good to judge individuals' performance, but that third person camera, like just a dedicated cameraman or a drone, and this is what I've said a lot. A drone, since the drones nowadays, even the cheaper Mavic Minis from DJI or the Autels, they have, they can live track a subject, in this case a person. You just put it on the squad leader and you fucking just have it follow him if you know you're going to go into an engagement. Like if you know you're about to hit the objective, it's a bunker in like a field, it's very worth having the drone up 200 feet watching what everyone's doing, because you can, you're never going to get a play-by-play quite as detailed and as good as a situation like that.
Yeah, the drones are nice, especially if you're able to, like, one of the cool things with drones is that, like the Mavic Minis and the DJI Mini 4Ks and stuff like that, they're very quick to launch. So if you're going to do something like cross an LDA during the daytime, and there's a little clearing of trees right before you approach the LDA, I mean, everybody's using their phone to navigate, let's be real. So you can see that ahead of time. You can launch the drone to provide overwatch for your LDA crossing, and then you're getting a rep and actually launching it like quickly, or pre-planned launch, and then you're also able to review that footage afterward to see how your LDA crossing was, and you can start to figure out like where the weak points are, or how you can flow more efficiently, or come up with maybe like better TTPs on LDA crossings and stuff. Like our LDA crossing TTP is like, I don't want to say it's kind of convoluted, but it gives definite freedom for like 2-man or 4-man security, and then like bumping and bounding versus based on the size of the LDA and things like that. So it's stuff that needs to be trained pretty heavily, because like
who was it? Redbeard Tactical said like a week or two ago, he's like, the LDA is kind of like how a group tackles an LDA is like a good validating exercise without even having any contact. Although that's something worth exploring. This is a series of posts.
His stuff that like never really shows up for me.
Dude, fuck, man. You know how social media is with the algorithms, but no, he said like the LDA is a really good validation exercise to see if your group like, because there's a lot of moving parts, right? You know, you first get up to the LDA and you either do your real quick, your hasty leaders recon, and then all right, we got to set our near side. All right, our near side set. Now we got to set our far side. All right, our far side set. All right, now we got to start pushing the new lead element over to, you know, or the previous lead element. We got to push them across. How are we pushing them across? And then, all right, how are they organizing on the other side? Are they setting up security towards, you know, are they stopping? Are they continuing the patrol? Or, you know, are we flowing through this LDA and we're doing something like scroll the road? Or are we like establishing an actual foothold on the other side, like a static foothold, and then reassemble and then pick up and move? And there's a lot of moving parts, and it's unfortunately very easy to either lose someone or make a big, like lose someone as in like, oh fuck, I didn't realize we were crossing it, or, you know, something happens to where the organization on the other side, like, oh shit, we didn't give enough room for the rest of our element, so now we're all fucking packed like sardines here. We gotta figure something out. But something I'd never seen happen is people taking contact on LDAs, on LDA crossings, and I kind of want to see people train that, because it's no one's ever said, I've never seen anyone have to deal with, oh, the LDA just, you know, all of a sudden our belt had to open up on the long axis of the LDA because fuck, an enemy OPFOR patrol came through and there's nothing left. Like,
Yeah.
I had to shoot. Like, how do you react to that one? You know, it's not a complicated problem. The only thing that would make it complicated is where in your LDA are your guys, because you have an element on the far side, you have an element on
the
you know,
I was in that
side.
exact situation, and I shot Brett in the back, which was not good, because we had not ever that's never happened to anyone before that was there, and it happened.
It's a good training experience.
And,
very good learning lesson.
We just started blasting.
It happens.
I feel like a really good way to take it a little bit further, because if he says that like an LDA crossing is a good way to judge a group, I feel like a cross compartment danger area kind of does it a little bit more, because it's a little bit more. I feel like that you can't like half-ass your way through as much with an LDA, as long as you have. I mean, you could do 2-man security and just everybody flow through, and you can get through pretty easily with everybody like kind of half-assed knowing what the plan is. But I feel like with a cross compartment danger area, at a certain point everyone's just sprinting like they can across this, you know, open field or whatever. But it's a lot more deliberate, where like you establish you know, a foundation to provide the cover, you move guys across this open area to do the far side reconnaissance, they do their thing, they report back, and if you're in a comm degraded area, they have to know like what the signal plan is for reporting back, whether it's like an air panel is good, or, you know, you're able to see them through some method of you know, magnification, and they give a thumbs up, and, you know, whatever like your comm method is in a degraded or like no radio environment. And then, you know, you have to like establish your security and move across and do all that stuff and make sure that the right guys go at the right time, and like who's doing what, because you need to do a leader's recon. And then, you know, there's obviously like on either way, you're supposed to do like an LDA rally point that's,
of course,
100 meters past the LDA or something like that. But
yeah, whatever your SOP is.
Yeah, I think that Marine Corps doctrine is like 100 meters past the LDA you're supposed to do an LDA.
Which is good. It's fair. You should give enough room for the rest of your element, unless you're moving a company, in which case you're probably treating that LDA a lot differently.
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing a company, like we've done exercises like Marine Corps side, where we've gone and moved a company down an LDA, and it's definitely a much more tedious process than like a squad size element, especially like a squad minus, right? Like if you have 9 dudes, that's pretty easy. I think that one thing that's like a good practice is to, if you're going to have like a flow through method, or, you know, bounding LDA crossing, pull guys from the back so you don't screw up your patrolling order and they can just tag along.
Yeah, no, and that's up to your leader to figure it out.
Yeah,
I know in the Army
it's one of those things where it's like a technique. It's not like doctrine.
Yeah,
but I like that technique because like that's one thing that we've always struggled with on like LDA crossings is even like when you have a group of guys that have done it regularly enough to where they know like what they're supposed to do, is you get the two guys in the front to establish the security, and then as everybody's like hoofs it, you know, double times through the LDA, and then they're continuing through to get to an LDA rally point. And then these guys are, I mean, they're basically, you know, they're road guards, right? They got to like make up
Yeah, exactly what it is.
Get back in and all that stuff. It's a little bit easier to have the guys, you know, take a quick pause in the beginning, have guys from the back go post up, and then you bound through and all that.
That's what I was under the impression that's just how it was done. That's the way they taught us to do it at One Shepherd, and that's the only way I've ever seen it done.
That's one way to do it. You could also do it to where your lead element just accepts that they're going to be the trail element.
It's also,
I mean, you could know, part of why everyone gets the brief and everyone should know what's going on is, okay, we've processed LDA. You know, if you're Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie teams, your Charlie team should know where the fuck you're going, not just your Alpha team. You know?
Yeah. I mean, another thing too is that if you have a squad full of, you know, general purpose guys and a couple of team leaders, it doesn't really matter.
As long as you're sticking to the whole, as long as you're like, okay, we're doing what we need to do, and we're making sure that we're not violating security, and that we're trying to maintain speed and cohesion, like you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah,
it's 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, if everybody's like a general purpose guy, you can rearrange your patrol order until the next short halt or long halt, and then because everybody should be able to flow and take over the next position, right? Like if you're the number 2 man,
every one of your team leaders should be able to be a squad leader, and your squad leader should be able to run the whole fucking thing. Like that's just how it's supposed to be. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, no, like I said, it'd be cool to see dudes take contact more on LDAs because you treat it as such like it's such a dangerous and vulnerable position for a unit to be in because you're crossing through completely open terrain on an avenue of approach that may or may not be mined. It may or may not have constant traffic through it. It may or may not be under Overwatch, whether or not you can see it or not. Just because there's a bunker there doesn't mean it's going to be a big gray block.
Yeah, you don't have to. You also don't have to cross the first place you find either. You just, like you said, right? There's supposed to be like a leader's recon sort of deal.
Well, yeah,
that's what I heard. That's from what I've heard.
Yeah, and
you've got to like pick your spot a little bit. You could kind of pick it a little bit.
Of course,
even, like in the leader's recon, I think that a lot of people always assume that a recon has to be guys going somewhere and looking. It can literally be like a map recon. Like you get to an LDA and you can pull off to the side for a second as everybody has like a security posture.
And just look at your map and be like, where the fuck are we? Okay.
Just look at your map.
I mean, you can crush into the cigar in like a bush and be like, all right, we're concealed. We have security, all that stuff. Let me check the map. Hey, there's a bend up here. That's gonna have a shorter sight line from anybody looking down the LDA. Let's proceed through the woods, east, northeast, 70 meters. Once we approach that bend, we're gonna cross there and then get back on our trail. So you're essentially doing like a 90-degree offset to hit the bend versus like go on a straightaway portion because maybe to the west or whatever, like an east-west running road. It's just like you can see, like in Michigan, we don't have fucking mountains or anything. We have like hills to block sight lines and like trees. And so if there's a nice straightaway, I mean, you could get a 2,000-yard shot down some of these roads, like some of these.
Of course. Same in an urban environment. Fuck, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's the whole meme like, oh, well, we're in an urban area. Their sight lines are short. No, the fuck they're not, man. Because you're, build multi-story buildings. All of a sudden, what would on the ground be a 200-yard sight line is now a 400, 500-yard sight line because this dude's fucking, the 40 feet in the air now on a rooftop with parapets or whatever he can hide behind. The rest of machine gun bipod on. Like
6.5 Creedmoor Scar vindicated.
Not anymore. It's discontinued.
Yeah. That's right. It's fucking.
I noticed a lot of give you a little bite. just in my civilian training I've noticed a lot of an interesting kind of trend where the like digital or electronic navigation stuff like kind of it ends up slowing some people down, I think, because I think it's natural for us as people who like grew up on video games to be like, I want to check my map. You know, like I'm gonna look at my map.
Mini-map.
Oh, where am I? I'm gonna look at my mini map, and it's gonna show me where I am because it's GPS or whatever. But then, like in the stuff that I've done, where like nobody's had any before, like everyone had night vision. Really, there was night vision, but like not everyone had like we were like the Fortrex 401, yeah, like the really shitty Fortrexes.
401s.
And no one had ATACs. So things happened a little bit faster where it was just like, okay, here's the feature and let's like think for a second and just do the thing that we trained to do at this situation. And then I get into nowadays I'm in more training events where people are using electronics and they have got fucking all this stuff. And it ends up, I don't want to sound like a boomer and I don't really know what I'm talking about. But it ends up being like, let's consult the map. And then you're like looking at a screen and it's comforting, I think, in a way where
There's
it's like
definitely a problem.
You can get away with
There's
a lot with just not, you know what I mean? Just like using like trusting your own experience and eyeballs.
There's a fun military problem of like map fixation. I love bringing up the situation where we at Hohenfels, it was just myself as the RTO, the lieutenant was the TC and the 113, and then we had the driver. And we got hit with a near ambush, a very nasty near ambush, where we got lucky they didn't have AT. But we're driving along like a spider trail, and we just fucking immediately get opened up by I don't know who the fuck. I think they were Czechs. But they open up on us on like a fucking primo ambush. And we, our driver does the right thing. He's just like, dude, fuck it. I'm in a tracked vehicle. We're just going to burn through this road. We're just going to keep going. And I remember looking up, like I popped out of the back, which, is risky and stupid. It could be decent. It could be dumb. It just depends. Because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen to the driver if he fucking buys the farm, then the vehicle is now immobilized. But I remember popping up, and I just see the lieutenant just looking at his mat board in the TC hatch, like sticking out. And I'm like, dude, like in my head, I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? We're getting ambushed.
Yeah.
Like either like focus on the gun. The driver's gonna get us to wherever we're going, and we can figure out where we're at then. If we're still, like notionally alive or whatever, like quit fucking around. But, it's something you kind of notice a lot of second lieutenants falling into is like, oh shit, I got to look at the map. Where are we? And it's like, I agree. You need to know where you're at all times, but like maybe a near ambush isn't it.
That's a really big problem too with like JTACs, because everybody's on ATAC or APAS or
everyone's
whatever.
on EUD.
Yeah, they're on the EUD, and that's why like when I was first out of the schoolhouse and I was like learning how to do it, my boss told me, like my aero told me straight up, he's like, don't mount that shit to your carrier. He's like, put it in your pocket. And it was really good because like after you do your brief, you need to correlate the aircraft onto the target, and you should look up and look at the battle space and be like, okay, like whatever you're going to do, if you're going to do a talk on or whatever, you've already given them the grid and the elevation to the target area. So then you have them slew their sensor to that, to those lines. And then you tell them, you should see whatever 4 vehicles on a north-south running road. And then he'll be like, oh, because of your natural like target location error, he might be 90 meters off, and he's like, I'm looking at a bunch of trees. And then you can talk him on from there. But so many guys, and I mean, I'll use it too as a reference point. Like if I can't see some roads, we'll be like, yeah, I see a Y intersection, and I'm looking out there. I'm like, I don't see shit. I'll pull out my phone and look, like my EUD, and be like, oh, this is the Y intersection. Okay, yeah, go northeast, 200 or whatever it is. But yeah, a lot of guys will be like sucked into their EUD because that's what they're looking at. That's what's comfortable. That's the eye in the sky. And if you get some good satellite imagery that you can download on them, you can see better than what you're going to see at like an OP or a hide site.
Of course.
Yeah, a lot of guys get into that.
The good thing about that is for a lot of training exercises, your map recon is fucking on point.
Oh yeah.
Because there's just such good sat imagery. But that's another thing too. A lot of the drone guys at Darcy, like the Black Hill Designs guys, they use drones to get mapping, like up to date mapping of their location. I'm not super like, basically I think you fly the drone on like a certain pattern and it's getting like high quality 4K imagery, and then it compiles it all together in the software, and you get like a very accurate contoured like terrain map of the area with accurate vegetation, because that's the vegetation. Odds are the vegetation in your location isn't going to change 48 hours ahead of your operation. It's not going to change in those 48 hours significantly.
They're processing that stuff in the field?
I'm not sure.
Or just for training, you mean? Or like that's part of like their SOPs?
Well, so I don't know if it's an SOP. I can't comment.
Like, are you saying?
But what I can
okay, yeah. I didn't know.
What I can say is that that capability exists.
Yeah.
And if you need high quality imagery for that AO, that's a way to do it. That's as far as my knowledge of it comes. I do
it for work, and if I could process that in the field, like if they know a way I could do that, that'd be amazing.
I don't know. I just don't know how to do it.
Unless I don't know, because like
you might. I mean, you can bring a computer out there. There's nothing that says you can't bring a fucking tough book or
because you throw that thing up and you put it on a grid and it'll give you like terrain. It's pretty crazy.
Candy Crush.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm too busy watching Subway Surfers on my fucking EUD while we're getting hit. But
yeah, I think we sucked into it.
Look, technology is a great tool if you're fucking smart about it. But if you lean too
also
heavily
for
into
like
it,
training wise, like if you're not like, you got to be good at the basics, and then
I also am and Tyler, I know you and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. It's not a bad thing to, especially if your AO is going to be very geographically close to like some of the guys in your organization. You can task those guys 48 hours ahead of the operation to go conduct that reconnaissance. It's an actual mission. It's not fucking bullshit. Yeah, they might not meet opposition. Yeah, tailor it to the civilian meme job, right? Where it's just like, all right, don't go armed. If you're going armed, don't look like you're fucking armed. Yeah. And gather imagery of this. This is going to be our AO, and this is the suspected side of our objective. And like, you might have to cheese it a bit and have them go set up a fucking radio tower, whatever the fuck the objective is. It might be like knocking out like an enemy commo station or something. So they just have a tent out there, like a little log bunker with a fucking, scrap antenna sticking out of it. And you just task those guys like, all right, well, one of those guys goes and sets it out, whoever's in charge, or, whoever's not in charge. And then the guy who is in charge for that little element, like, hey, we're going to go do recon and get fucking, get our updated imagery so that ahead of our actual operation. And so then when you go to do your briefing, to do your op order, you have that updated briefing. You have that imagery. Like, this is imagery from 48 hours ago. These are going to be the weather conditions at the location. This is what we saw in our reconnaissance patrol. And these conditions are subject to change. And then you also give that to your op4 element. And it's like, hey, look, this is what they saw. Like, obviously your op4 like lead. You don't tell this to everyone because there's no point for everyone in the op4 to know it. But whoever's doing the observer controller stuff, hey, this is your AO. You've been patrolling here and there. You don't let them know about the recon, but you do let them know, like, hey, look, this is kind of, you know what I mean? Like it builds the exercise at multiple levels where
you're
forcing a multi. You force a, like, I don't want to say like a campaign, but your operations build off of each other. So you have guys go out there, your op 4 goes out there and they set up their defensive positions, X, Y, and Z. And then when they're done setting it up, you just have them out there for like a 12-hour op where the blue 4 is just supposed to do recon on it. And then if the blue 4 gets spotted by the op 4 or whatever, and they do, let's say you do it full kit, full battle rattle, and they do get into an engagement. Well, guess what? That reconnaissance mission failed, and the op 4 know this now. So now the op 4 are expecting a fight. So you might plus up the op 4 numbers, or you might allow them in some way, shape, or form to take advantage of the fact that the blue 4 recon failed or was compromised or whatever. So like they change the imagery, or they add camo netting, or they do this or that, or they change the location. So now your fucking recon was a bust because you go to that spot and it's like, fuck, it ain't here. And then, you might leave like notional trash there that's like, oh, fuck, they went this way. And so now you have a lead on where to go. You force your guys to either track their way to the new objective. You build a whole thing out of it. And then your actual operation has points ahead of it, tasks ahead of it that build the whole thing. And you're getting your guys extra reps. But, it's, as always, it's hard to get guys to go out there and do stuff. So it's great for me to say this. It's a lot harder to actually execute it.
We were talking about
the opposite. This. Sorry, Joe. What was that?
No, I was just saying how we were talking this weekend about just kind of talking about the FTX and how, because it takes time to put it together, and then like it's also cool that you can involve your guys training wise to like be involved in like all the different facets. And it is like planning an operation, basically, like you said, everything you just talked about. But like this is kind of what we had gotten like taken away from with this FTX that we just got back from.
Yeah, we actually we had the opposite problem where we had basically like our last one that we did over the weekend. We put someone else to run it, like a couple other guys to do all the planning and stuff, and to get like reps and sets of like the planning and the execution, the overseeing and all that. And he was like, hey, can I go to the AO and scout things out ahead of time? And I kind of wanted everyone to go in blind. So it was like a little bit more of a thrown to the fire kind of deal. So I was like, no, don't go over there ahead of time. But it was funny because basically what the FTX was that we were doing an offset infill at night to establish like an OP/final firing position on like a HVT meeting type deal where we set up 4 targets, arranged like they were meeting. I came up with like a whole scenario and, an adversary force and stuff. And so Joe and we got up there kind of early. We planted a cache because that was the intel that the HVT was handing over, was like a cache location. So I have like a black GoRuck sandbag thing that we dumped like 40 minutes to the west underneath like some tree off the road. And I marked the location of it and everything. And then we go into the AO, we plant some targets on the infill and then on the HVT site. And then the plan was to do an offset infill, move to the location. We also had a jammer set up, quote unquote jammer for degraded comms. Like I think that the range was like 1,500 meters.
Because we were talking about how to make the exercises a little bit more challenging without being like notionally you can't we just don't use your radios as much and try to not to use your ATACs as much. Yeah. So like to work it into the exercises, like, oh, hey, like there's this thing, we worked in like a bunch of different like ways to make it harder other than just smoking people, which is also a good way to do that. But to add complexity is to be like, hey, you can't use your there's a GPS spoofer and they have radio direction finding. So try to do this movement without talking and without using, the thing that tells you exactly where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So that added some good complexity to it. There was a lot of good stuff that went on, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, when Joe and I went to the site to plant the targets for the HVT, so on satellite imagery, it looked like it was a pretty clear opening, and we get there and there's a ton of like 7-foot little trees everywhere, like brush. And so I was like, oh shit, this because we were basically going to approach from the northeast, move along the tree line, like just in the tree line, kind of handrail the opening, the clearing, to proceed west and then southwest to find where the targets were. And then as soon as we got around like 300 to 400 from them, we were going to establish our final firing position / OP, set that up, rest overnight, have, consistent watch throughout the night. And then in the morning after sunrise, we were going to take a synchronized shot, drop all 4 of the targets, and then the like maneuver, like assault element, was going to go recover the intel, and then we were all going to exfil and then process the intel and then do the follow-on objective, which in that case was the cache site. But when we set up all the targets and stuff, we were like, dude, there's no fucking way that we're going to be able to see these guys unless we literally are on the road leading into this, like little AO. And that's exactly what happened. We couldn't see the guys until we were on the road. And then we moved up till, I think we were like 400 or 500. I think we were close to 500.
Yeah.
And then we were like, all right, fuck it. Let's just take the shot here.
And then it rained like the night, like as soon as after we set up the targets. So like they got soggy.
Yeah. All the targets looked like they were doing the fent
lean. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to explain it. Like, yeah, we're going after a drug-addicted terrorist militia.
That's literally exactly what it was, because they were like
That's honestly literally what it was.
Group that was being funded by the LD or the PLA. I almost said LDA, but the PLA.
Yeah.
So the whole time we were like, oh, they're trannies. They just killed themselves.
One thing I would like to see, and it's tough for me to say shit because I'm not out there doing it for like obvious reasons. But one thing I would like to see is more urban exercises, which is very difficult. But building a target package, doing surveillance on like a structure, and then having your guys go in and clear it, like is fucking like it's cop stuff, right? It's like primo cop stuff, or like that sort of thing. Like, oh, there's an HVT in this building. We have to fucking do a reconnaissance and then keep constant surveillance, patterns of life, etc. And then our strike force goes, executes actions on the objective. It's a raid, so they fucking leave with whatever they needed to do. If it's killing an HVT, if it's gathering, capturing intelligence or disrupting XYZ, and so on and so forth. But it's just hard with an urban setting because you need an urban location. Yeah. That's why like places like Darcy are cool for it, because it's a closed environment, so you're not worried about the whole like, oh fuck, there's just a hiker here. Let's call in the cops.
That's very valid.
So we're like an hour into it. Let's shift, because I think that all the lukewarms have stopped listening at this point.
Valid.
Sure.
From the Nothing Ever Happens gang, something has happened.
It's a little late. We're like a little late to the conversation at this point, but it's a tricky subject.
So what's interesting, and I gotta talk about it from an outsider looking in, because even though I'm American and I'm appraised to the news and I obviously talk to everyone, it's still like distant. I don't feel it quite as much. So I can I feel like I don't want to say qualified, but I feel like I can give a more objective view of it, because while I'm emotionally attached to it, I'm also geographically detached from it. So it's still, those are the problems of the States, but it's happening. Like you've got, I'd say the most concrete avenue of seeing like, oh, this is what's happening the most is the immigration reform. Or we could talk about Venezuela and the Caribbean heating up. That's interesting too. A little more topical, because that's very recent.
I just think that it's like, like this whole time, like I was very much of the Nothing Ever Happens crew, and then like, then you have like multiple political assassinations and attacks on like federal sites and federal officers, and like nationwide protests, and it's just you keep adding whatever the next thing is.
Well, what's interesting about it is that you've had a few kinetic radical groups, but they're incompetent. You remember that it happened months ago. but there was like it was like 6+ dudes or whatever. It was a mixed group.
That ambush, right?
Dudes.
Is that what you're talking about?
See, I hate using the word ambush because it was on a site.
Yeah.
It was on a static site.
Right, they went there, yeah.
They went there to attack it. So they started shooting or whatever, and then the ICE agents inside the building, fought back. And I forget what happened. Not all, as far as I know, like no one died, but they surrendered or something like that. But and I consider that like ideological incompetence just as much as like tactical incompetence, because well, I mean, okay, so you look at terror in the lens of the global war on terror, because that's what we know the most, right? That's what we grew up in. And like these dudes are ride or fucking die, man. Like Muslim terrorists or, Muslim extremists, they're fucking ride or die. They will put on a nest vest, they will assault an objective, and then they'll fucking detonate when they're cornered. Like it's 100% full commission to the mission. So it's like when you see these very fucking, I don't want to say laughable, because it's dangerous at the end of the day. If anyone can muster 8 dudes to go hit a target, be it a federal building or a house or whatever, that's nothing to sneeze at, especially if they're all armed with long guns. But they showed exactly why we train, speed, surprise, violence of action, why those are tenets and they're important. Yeah, you had surprise, you attacked them completely out of the blue and they weren't expecting it, but there was no, it was lukewarm. It was fucking, oh, we're just going to go here, we're going to shoot at this building, we're going to try and kill who's inside. And then they get fucking bodied by these dudes that just were better. They were better at decision making. They had more manpower that they could mass, and they just fucking, they used those tenets and they just outmaneuvered that foe, and they made all those arrests. Or the dude that shot at the ICE station and ended up killing like the people he was quote unquote trying to free instead of any ICE agents, because he just shot into a van. And that's where you see your like lone sniper or whatever. And I think old boy killed himself after that. I wonder, to this day, I'm not too sure on the circumstances of why he killed himself, but as far as I understand, he knew he.
I think
don't think he knew he fucked up.
I think that's kind of just half the MO of a lot of these people, anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, the temperature has gone to a point where I'm like, I'm not concerned about anything ever. I'm one of the most unconcerned people I know. But now I'm pretty concerned.
I don't know if I see it as concerning. The most concerning thing I've seen.
I'm just concerned because now it's in the open that like there's like 2 foreign terrorist organizations operating inside the country. You know what I mean? You have Antifa, which is like new to the foreign terror organization list, and then you've got the cartels. So it's like, maybe something does happen, and then maybe you guys have heard me say for a while that I think the cartels are the most legitimate domestic threat because they are capable and they have experience. So if they start pushing sicarios from south of the border north to conduct operations, which they do, the only difference being that the cartel at the end of the day is a hierarchical organization that's interested in making money and wielding influence. And the 2 things that fuck making money and wielding influence the most are forcing the United States to wield its heavy militarized hand against you. As those little boats are finding out in the Caribbean, when they're getting hit by a fucking JDAM, like, hey man, you can try all this shit and that's great. You can say whatever the fuck you want. You can say, oh, we're going to take these fucking agents, but the Predator drone doesn't give a fuck. And the carrier group in the Caribbean doesn't give a fuck either. Like they'll fucking gladly meet you in that fight. All the memes about the military being, gutted or fucked up or not training enough or whatever, it's still the fucking military, dude. Like it's still the US goddamn military. And more domestically, like you have a very robust and now very experienced, and I'm not gonna say now very experienced, they've always been experienced because of just how America is, law enforcement capacity at multiple levels, local, state, federal, and they move those resources. I mean, but the most concerning thing I've heard, and this is coming from someone who's a cop, is in Chicago, the ICE agents got boxed in or whatever by the cars, and they put out a distress call,
and the Chicago PD leadership allegedly told their officers to stand down, which is insane. I can't imagine being a cop and being told to stand down to defend other cops. Like, I know, the whole police thing is a very touchy subject for a lot of people in the sphere, but like, I can say that, like, that's unheard of, man. Like a cop's not going to the rescue of other cops, regardless of fucking whether they're federal, local, or state. That's unheard of, man. Like, that's, I don't know. That's the more concerning thing, because where does that lead to? If the police department is more loyal to its town than it is to like the Constitution or like the general right thing to do, because at the end of the day, you have to understand.
You're not even like loyal to the town. You're like loyal to the
mayor. Yeah, which is a dangerous precedent to set.
So,
well, even regardless of whether he's an idiot or not, if you're loyal to the mayor, like, what happens when the mayor says, "Hey, man, we gotta move against these"? Are you gonna shoot at other cops as a cop? Like, that's fucking crazy.
Well,
man.
this is
Where
what
does
I
that
mean.
leave
This
you?
is like one of the many things that's like different now. Like, the situation has changed so much over the past couple of months that it's like there are so many facets. And I know you were on Forward Observer, right?
Yeah.
On this podcast, I've been listening to him a lot lately. My friend put me onto him, and he's pretty like good. I know he has a product and whatever, but he's really good at just kind of breaking down like what like the levels of concern. You know what I mean? He was saying something like, people could tell you like what congressman did what trades and what they're saying about another congressman, but like they don't know who like their chief of police is or the mayor or the sheriff or you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
where like you might want to know like what the people that are governing your area believe. And I know it's obvious. Areas
well, local, yeah,
like
no, obviously, and I think that's
like if anything's going to happen,
Shelby
those are
very hard.
Those are the people who are going to be.
Well, like, even let hostilities aside or anything kinetic aside, your fucking mayor and your local legislature is going to decide a lot more things that affect you every day than whoever the fuck is sitting in the Oval Office. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I wanted to just preface, so if that ever gets clipped, that's what I was trying to say. Like, the people that are in your neighborhood are having a lot more effect over your life than like what a congressman is, what they're doing with another congressman in a room somewhere. But
no, like I said, from the outside looking in, it's novel. There are some places of concern, but it's interesting because of the political climate, right? You're about a year into a presidency that, while unpopular among half of the country, maybe more, is very popular on the other half. And then, Trump aside, or right wing versus left wing aside, the people in our sphere tend to be much more pro law and order. That's kind of the goal. Is like, we just want things orderly. I want my kids to be able to go to school and not have to worry about fucking running into an illegal checkpoint, shaking them up, or kidnapping them or anything.
Right.
Because that does happen quite a bit in foreign fucking countries. And that's the sign of a third world country, is if someone's setting up illegal checkpoints and they're fucking shaking up traffic and the police aren't stopping it.
Right now.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said, look at South Africa right now. I'm talking to a guy earlier, and we were talking about that, and he was sending me some pictures of there's trucks that'll like try to just intercept people and take their money. And he sent me this picture of this truck with like blood splattered all over the windows and stuff. And he said the cash and transit thieves often miscalculate their blast rate and take themselves in the process. And there's like a fire truck and all these people around and stuff. And he said, thankfully, as you can see, the community always steps up to help them out by looting the trucks anyway. He said the sedan was a would-be hitman's. After attempting to kill a VIP, the team responded accurately. So, I mean, I think that the problem is that when you look at both sides, and Joe and I were talking about this over the weekend, is that when you look at both sides, and saying left first right, I think is I think that's a, on one hand, I say that that's a good enough way to categorize people, but on the other hand, it's completely beyond that. There's no such thing as like the left versus right anymore.
Sure.
It's much more extreme than that. But just for conversation and helping to organize things, I'm just gonna say left versus right. On one side you have people who generally want to have families or already have them, generally want a stable environment for their kids to go into and all that stuff like you were saying. And then on the other side, they don't want to have kids. They don't want to have any of that.
That's why you see their attacks be so nihilistic, right? That's why they kill themselves or they fail.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't have a real concrete like loyal like belief system they're loyal to. So
and that's
when they fail, when they do these things, the rug is pulled out from under them. Like that's why you see these dudes like, oh fuck, I just shot at this ice station, but now the police are coming right to my location. Guess I better blow my brains out.
Well, and that's what we were talking about is that they're so Joe had said it very well, and I'll let you say it again, that they're dangerous but not deadly.
Yeah.
You probably, Gio, you'd probably be able to figure this out better than I did. But basically, I'll give you what I was thinking, and then you can kind of tell me what I mean. Like they're dangerous. This I don't know. Like I said, Tyler, I don't know if we're going to use left versus right because it's so.
It's the easiest
like such
way
a
to categorize things.
Yeah.
I think anybody that knows what we're saying, and anybody who doesn't know can relate to it easily.
There's like a group of people that's like a death cult basically, and
they're nihilists.
They kill people for having like the most innocuous views. If they met any of us, they'd feel even worse. So
of course, Charlie Kirk. They killed like the
most
pretty lukewarm
dude. Like great, nice guy. Blah blah blah. So they're dangerous because like they're like I said, like they're like a lot of them want to. A lot of them want to hurt themselves. So like those people already are like, they're what they're willing to do. Like there's a lot of things they're willing to do because at the end of it, they're gonna end their own lives.
They're on SSRIs already.
Yeah, they're yeah. I mean, to be fair, like a lot of them are on drugs.
They don't care about their own.
And the other thing is, as far as extremism goes, is like say what you want about me and my ilk, but like we have an off ramp. As a friend of mine put it, like I want to have a family and children and like live to see another generation of my family. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to kill anybody, but like unfortunately the other side doesn't want to have families. They don't care about marriage. They don't care about families. They don't care about any sort of legacy or virtue. Their virtue
would be one thing, and it would be one thing if they just kept those beliefs and they didn't act on it. But the fact that
now it's getting to the point where they are
targeting people.
Right. So it's like we were just saying the situation has changed. And what's interesting, or not what's interesting, but what I noticed is they are dangerous. Like this group is extremely dangerous in the fact that like they're willing to commit literal violence like on you for having as lukewarm views as Charlie Kirk does. So what's dangerous about that is just that they're willing to do over like basically nothing. But I don't think that they're deadly in the way that like a man who's willing to like people say like, oh, you're willing to die for your family, like, or what are you willing to live for your family sort of deal. But like, I mean, the things that people have done in history to secure law and order for the continuation of civilization, those people, like high agency people that have jobs, that take care of families, like you're talking about people that are generally have their shit together, and especially if they're training and they're fit. Like I think that's the distinction between being deadly, those people, and being dangerous, the former, where you could be dangerous because you're unhinged and you don't have anything to live for and you have no problems about killing innocent people. That makes you dangerous. But what makes people deadly is this focused, what they don't have, I think, that makes people deadly, who are more focused and they have something that they're willing to like there's a reason why they're going to, like, there's a line, take like what's his name in The Patriot, where he's like very hesitant to go to war, and then eventually comes to his front door, and then he has to, and then he's like the deadliest dude, right? So it's kind of like people who are Tyler, you said this while we were having this conversation. You said like people that are like people that like know what to do, but they have like restraint or something. Explain. You know what I mean? Like they have like the skill, the ability.
I think I know what
they have like the capacity for violence, but they're like,
there's a quote from somebody, I can't remember who it is, but basically he was saying that somebody who's peaceful is somebody that has the capability of extreme violence. If you don't have that capability of extreme violence, you're not peaceful, you're just harmless. And so, leading off of this whole concept, people that have, like it's always kind of like a trope, right? Like you don't want to mess with the guy that has nothing to lose, whatever, because he's just going to do whatever he wants because he doesn't care, whatever. But at the end of the day, the long con, so to speak, or like the long-term dangerous person is the person that has a lot of stuff to lose. Somebody who has a family and whatnot, they're going to fight harder to see them. They're going to fight harder to secure an existence for their family to thrive throughout their lives. And so this actually started because I can't remember how
we're talking about the Medal of Honor citation.
Yes,
for that guy.
We were talking about there's like a Delta Force raid on a prison in like 2015, and so the one guy, Josh Wheeler, he was killed during the operation, and like when you read his whole thing, it was he got the Silver Star for it, but he basically let me make sure it was him and not the guy that had. Yeah, so it says that they were directing the Kurdish attack on the prison and joined the fighting when those who had breached the compound came under fire inside. Reports stated that Wheeler ran toward the sound of gunfire and that his actions, along with those of one of his teammates, ensured the success of the operation, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not showing the whole.
They basically he freed 30 prisoners, like with bolt cutted 30 locks, and then the building went on fire. It was like a prison.
Oh yeah, right, I got it.
Yeah,
so it was Thomas Paine, who's still in. He got the Medal of Honor for this, but it says that an intense firefight basically started when they were assaulting this prison that had all these hostages in it, and the second building started to burn. And so this guy Payne and another dude responded to radio calls for assistance and aided Kurdish soldiers who were pinned down to the second building. Amid gunfire, Payne and another soldier climbed a ladder to the roof of the building but could not gain entry. From the roof, they engaged enemy forces on the ground with gunfire and grenades before returning to the ground to seek another entry point after an ISIS fighter detonated a suicide vest to try to collapse the building. Payne and a Kurdish commando entered the burning building and faced intense gunfire from enemy combatants in a back room. Payne cut one door lock but retreated due to heavy smoke and gunfire, which, mind you, at this point, I'm pretty sure that he had exchanged his rifle for giant bolt cutters to go cut all these locks on this building that had all these hostages in it under fire. He entered the area again, cut the last lock, freeing 30 additional prisoners. As the building was collapsing, the order was given to evacuate. Payne stayed to direct everybody out, being the last person to exit after re-entering twice to ensure that no one was left behind. Him and the team then formed a protective barrier and hostages ran to extraction helicopter. So basically, this dude goes up a ladder, engages people, goes back down the ladder. There's a suicide vest that goes off next to him. All this stuff is going on. And he has, according to his Wikipedia, he's married and has 3 children. And so, the other guy, the guy that had died and had received the Silver Star for this whole thing, Josh Wheeler, I think that he has a number of kids too. I don't think it says in his Wikipedia, but the whole point of this is it says he has 4 sons and a wife. who had given birth August 2015 to his fourth son, and he was killed in October of 2015. So his son was like 3 months old when he was killed, or 2 months. But yeah, I mean, guys that are looking to try to get back to their family after something are going to go to greater lengths to see their family before they decide to give up, right? Like
you're not like seeing acts of heroism from people who are like, on this other side, they're just like barely hanging.
They have nothing to lose
anyway.
in like nihilistic worldviews on things.
Yeah, like you're not going to see like a beautiful heroic action from these people. It's just going to be an ugly. It's like an ugly, evil, basically.
Well, Joe, tell them about when you had interacted with the John Brown Gun Club guys.
Yeah. I told you guys about this a while ago. I won't say too much more about it, but basically, yeah, I was around these guys, and John Brown and the other one, SRA, the SRA guys, Socialist Rifle Association, and basically everyone was just talking about pornography. Openly, and I was just like,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I told you both about it when it happened. This was years ago now.
The key point that you told me that was crazy was that it was like kind of eye opening. I don't want to say crazy, but was eye opening. Is that like, oh, there goes you.
He went off for milk. He's gone.
People don't have like strong views toward anything except for a concept. The strongest view that these people have is that
it's shoving Funko Pops up their ass.
Yeah.
and like I wasn't out looking for these people. Like they just were very open about, like, they were very comfortable and very open at a range, just like a normal range that anyone can go to. And they were there with their little patches and their identifications and their haircuts. And just very openly talking about pornography and this kind of degenerate BS. It was like a conversation. It's like a conversation I would have had like when I was like, I don't know, like 11 in the locker room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, not really even. It was really gross. But anyway,
everyone's just saying that meme where the guy's like, I Google big boob and get 8 million results.
Wow.
but I mean, the whole point of that is that if you have a family, if you are some semblance of, devoted Christian to any degree, if you have even like a core concept that you want the future generations to thrive based on tried and true, like traditional values and stuff, you're already leagues ahead of these people that the peak of their ideology is something that has consistently failed throughout the years. And, it comes down to they are unable to excel. And, granted, right, like there's always going to be criticisms from everybody at a certain point of like capitalism and whatnot. I'm not necessarily like a staunch like free market capitalist kind of guy.
Dude. Capitalism has huge issues, but at the moment,
at the same time, like I've learned to accept that that's just the system in place right now, and then I need to do what I need to do to.
And it certainly works better than the alternative. So,
well, yeah, there's always like the bright side of things, but basically, I've been able to get to a point where I'm comfortable in life, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
My wife and kids. Nobody else needs to work. Luckily, we're comfortable enough. We're not worried where our next paycheck's going to be. My kids don't need to worry about food or clothes or anything like that. We're comfortable enough to get by, right? We don't live in excess by any means. We're pretty average by and large, like an average single income family. I have no college degree, etc. And so, it's a lot of like figuring out how that works. But basically, what I'm getting at is that the fact that like I have other things that are behind me to push me to great lengths to see these things through, right? I want to see my kids get old. I want to see grandkids in the future. I want them to have a good life. I want them to have no worries. I want them to do better than I can, or that I have, right? And then there's the whole side of faith and whatnot. And so if you have nothing like that, if you're just like, oh yeah, communism seems like a good idea because of whatever, and you don't care about you just believe that when you die nothing happens, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you're not going to go to any sort of great length to live and do the right thing and all that stuff. And even if you believe in your heart, like full launch that communism is the right thing because everybody's equal and nobody's discriminated against, and everybody has this utopia that there's no unemployment, right? Because everybody's employed by some way, and everybody just works toward the greater good that is the state to ensure everybody's well-being, and et cetera, right? Like, okay, that's great, but inherently, this system doesn't allow for any sort of undertaking of like a greater sense of purpose, right? Like, you cannot have faith in like a communist society. And obviously, you look at the Soviet Union and like East Germany, and it was allowed in some degree, very heavily controlled, moderated. That's a whole other separate topic, but you get what I'm saying. Like, there's no.
So, I mean, there's not much more for me to say besides what you guys have said. That these opposing forces are very dysgenic. They're not interested in seeing. They might believe in their head. They might tell themselves that what they're doing is the right thing. But they're so like not just woefully misguided, but like how they came to these conclusions and then how they act, and is so they go so hand in hand. It's why they're incompetent. It's because they shove this whole ideology right up their ass, and it goes right up all the way to their brain.
Next to the
Funko Pops. And they love the smell of their own farts, but that's not something you can really like. It's not a real ethos. It's not a moral, backbone. And it's like I said, it's why these people fucking do what they do, and then they immediately kill themselves. They're just like, oh fuck.
I mean, that's
it's
all.
Like you have to imagine that. To some degree, these guys have a sudden moment of clarity of like, what the fuck did I just do?
Well, that's the thing is like you hope for these people, like, and also it doesn't matter. Like, I could say whatever, I could say all the things that I think, and it won't matter. I could say that I wish that they would have a change of heart. I wish that they would see the world for the way it is, and I wish that they would see that God loves them and wants to know them. Or for them to know him. But at the end of the day, they don't want to talk to us anymore. They don't want to talk at all. They want to just kill you. It's what it seems like, or at least a portion of them. And that's the troubling thing to me, is because like, yeah, I could probably talk my way out of a lot of things.
I don't trouble myself about it. One, because I don't live in the States right now, so it's a lot easier for me to say that.
Easy for you to say.
Of course, it's very easy for me to say, but I'll say this: the robust. And this is why I've said before that I think a lot of guys in this sphere should really think about getting careers in law enforcement, where you can go after these elements with a legal framework behind you and defeat them. You can defeat them, in the courts, or if need be in the field of battle. And I'd say the silver lining of this administration, for all of its faults, is that it is willing to go after these people. It is willing to deploy federal resources. It is willing to use the National Guard. And while, some people say it sets a very bad precedent, at some point you have to kind of sit down and think like, yeah, we're setting a real gnarly precedent, but what happens if these people get bolder and bolder and bolder? Like, the buck has to stop somewhere.
Yeah, well, me and my people don't go around killing other people. So, you know what I mean?
No,
like, I'm not exactly worried.
That.
I'm more concerned about like, how are they even like, how are they at the point where they're like, this is a good idea, and we're going to continue to do this? Like, that's the thing that is shocking to me.
Well,
I
that's
don't
the
even
whole
think
thing
it's worth
that
dwelling on it.
about.
My point is, it's not even worth dwelling on it. You just acknowledge it. You just sit there and think like, these people hate me. And they want to see me dead. What are the avenues to prevent that? And so, you guys are very well versed in that. You train. Fuck, man. I wish a lot of things weren't true, but it is what it is. These are the cards that were dealt, and
I think that
we got to play the hand that we have. But
is that the people that don't care about seeing their family or that have a family or anything, they're able to at some point decide like, either I'm going to just do this now and either get the death penalty or kill myself, or if I just don't do anything, I'm probably going to off myself in 10 years anyway. So at most. So I'm just going to do this now. And so that's why there's such a one-sided amount of violence going on, because the people that are on the other side of the spectrum, right? Like on the right, quote unquote, they have families and stuff. And so it's like, and I'm not saying that I'm not advocating for anybody to do anything heinous at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is that the problem is that the everything is very one-sided. Nobody really wants to react in any way because of the fact that everyone's like, well, if I'm the first to react, I'm never going to see my family again.
But yeah, basically
life in prison or whatever. And so everyone.
But my argument for all this. But my argument is this: what avenues do you have to do something? Like, ask yourself that.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying about like becoming law enforcement, so you can actually
that's
make
the most
difference.
I mean, look, it's whether however controversial it is, there are a ton of federal agents out there handling this very problem now. They're out there fucking, their goal, at least right now, is, get rid of the illegal immigration. It's going to hopefully over time discourage illegal immigration, which as far as I know, the statistics are showing that. And these people, they're a loud vocal minority, a violent minority. However, they're being thwarted time and time again by law enforcement. They attack. If they're not thwarted by law enforcement, they cease to be an issue the moment law enforcement gets on scene because they kill themselves. So how I look at it is, it's not like I don't see it as like a call to action, as in like, we got to get all the homies together in the Signal chat and we got to go fucking roll up on these nerds, because there's already such a robust enterprise with the resources and the capacity to deal with it. And it's showing the willingness to deal with it too. I mean, they declared Antifa a foreign terror organization. Yeah. That's a pretty fucking big deal. That's how you start targeting funding. That's how you start targeting, their operations, this and that, and you start disrupting it, and you're doing it under the guise of law and order, which is the right way of doing things.
I guess my thing is just is like, you always assume that like your ideas would win because they're right, but like then they'll just kill you. So it's just like, it's just like I think that's the thing with Charlie that was so, regardless of however that situation happened, the fact is that people were happy about it. So, and it's just like, dude, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he was a nice guy. Like, he wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a much better person probably than I am. So
he was at the point where everybody in the, in my realm at least, disregarded him. I never watched Charlie Kirk because I was like, this guy's just like a normie, like moderate.
I mean, I heard clips of him same way I hear clips about like Ben Shapiro owning the libs.
It's all the same.
It's just like some clip you hear in passing, but yeah, it's just like
neocon
stuff. I understand that it's concerning to have to reconcile with the idea that the boogeyman exists.
I mean, is that like, is this it? Like, is this the time now? Like, are we like, is this like, are we in danger? I guess, like, were we not before?
I'd say you've always been in danger.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is it changes things.
You've just always, the thing is you've just always been in danger. You've always been under the ire of these people. They've been doing this for decades now, where they
years.
I mean, the thing is, perhaps, but at least with the current group now, the Antifa types and these far nihilistic radicals, they were, the problem is they were enjoying success of popularity. They were, they could dox people, and then people would be like, wow, look, you exposed these terrible, terrible people working these jobs. We got them fired. We took their livelihood, XYZ. And the fact of the matter is very rarely did they actually ruin these people's lives, because a competent person that is able to get a job and probably get another fucking job. But to them, now that the ire is on them, they're like I almost look at it as like, this is the lashing out of a cornered rat, as opposed to like the very coordinated and severe, clear and present danger. That's why it's so disorganized. You don't see a platoon of Antifa guys fighting ISIS, or not ISIS. Fuck. Well, you don't see them doing that either. But they're not fighting ICE agents or the federal law enforcement, FBI or whoever. And then when they try rioting, get fucking rolled up and arrested, dude. And guess what? You're in the fucking system now, man. And we'll see how the federal prosecutors handle you, because the federal prosecutors and these whole organizations have been fucking gutted by Trump, and they're 100% pushing for that loyalist sort of thing, which is its own problem. Like in a vacuum, you look at it, it's an issue in terms of freedoms and whatnot, because, oh, well, what happens when it's turned on me?
Well,
I
that's
understand that argument. But
right.
But
I've heard this line of thinking where it's like the more virtuous side is always like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to inflict this on them because I wouldn't want it inflicted on me. But they don't. The other side doesn't care. So like,
but they're already inflicting it on you.
Exactly.
They're already, so it doesn't matter. So
right.
But the fact of the matter is like I said, there's a robust organization dealing with these people right now, and they're forcing them into a position where they're undoing themselves. You can't do a whole lot.
In at the turn, and he always makes me feel better.
See, you got to understand, these motherfuckers can't do shit. Oh, you want to organize? Yeah, have fun doing it in prison, where the circumstances are not great for a fucking 120-pound soaking wet dysgenic freak. When you've got fucking Latin Kings and Aryan Brotherhood motherfuckers, they're just itching to rape your ass. They don't give a fuck. So when
I don't want
look
that for them, but that's
I don't want it for anyone. But I mean, like, so be it, dude. I mean, shit. If the shoe fits, they're gonna fucking wear it, whether they like it or not. And it's like I said, for all the faults of the government, I am cautiously optimistic about it, just because there are, every time these nerds have tried something, they fucking get arrested or they die. They don't leave it victorious. They don't do this stuff and they're like, yeah, we fucking got them. They fucking got their shit kicked in. And we have to thank 2020 and the fact that, it's only been 5 years since the summer of love, and that was much more concerning, because you had these people in riots trying to burn down police stations. They burned down police stations.
Yeah, but right now they're openly fighting ICE to a degree. Like they're getting
fucked. They're getting dicked down, dude. Like
but the same thing happened during the summer of love, where they were getting thwarted by cops driving around minivans shooting paintball guns.
Yeah. But understand that it's not like it's only been 5 years. It's not like the cops didn't also fucking learn this shit.
Yeah.
Either.
Well, it also it only takes one of them to burn your house down or
of course. But this is why you train, man. Like this is like at the end of the day, this is why you train. This is why you go and you fucking do what you do. This is why you go to the range and you practice. This is why you practice your concealed carry. This is why you have your networks. This is why you do it. For when they show up to burn down your house, that's when the homies roll up.
When you finally, this is the preparedness in question. So
yeah, that's when you post. That's when you post the smiley, the smiley in the shadows saying like, "This is the post. It's happening." That's when you send it in the Signal group chat. Like that. That's the moment. But I'm not.
I think the problem with me, at least, is that over the years, like, I started doing stuff in the like quote unquote training space back in like 2019, and I had like a local group of guys that I was buddies with. Like I was like, if we can get 4 of us, like a fire team, to focus on things, then we'll be good. And then obviously there's problems with the group of 4 that I had in I never got all 4 of us together at the same place at the same time, and et cetera, et cetera. And then started expanding. Actually, after that one guy, do you remember the whole Whiskey Warrior shenanigans?
No.
The guy that he was saying that they were the police or the feds or whatever were trying to take his guns because he was red flagged. But in reality, I think that there was a domestic type
Oh yeah. Well, there you go.
He was on his deck just completely blitzed with all of his guns and wearing his ACUs, his UCP uniform and stuff.
I do remember that. I actually do remember that.
Yeah, and he was live streaming the whole thing. Well, that was a huge eye opener for me and some guys that I knew that were in the greater area, because we were look, obviously nothing happened here, and this was a nothing type deal, and realistically, the cops probably should have been at his place if if the domestic allegations are real. But what if it was real? What he was saying, just what if that happened?
It could be. It could have been. It could have easily been. But
well, I'm not even saying.
My favorite saying in the Army was you can sit here and wax poetic about what ifs. What if the fucking moon fell and crashed on us? You can't. At a certain
I think
point,
they made a movie about that.
They probably did. But at a certain. Yeah, it's actually
Moonfall.
It's actually called Little Nicky, starring Adam Sandler, but.
Giant.
Yeah, it's actually Pinocchio. I'm surprised you guys didn't read between the lines for Pinocchio.
Dude, Giant is such an incredible movie, though. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, but they should have nuked the Soviets and that giant fucking robot.
Yeah.
But fuck, where was I going with this?
You were saying you can dwell on what ifs all day.
Yeah, you can just sit and dwell on what ifs until the fucking cows come home. But at the end of the day, just prepare for the enemy's most likely course of action, and then their most dangerous course of action, and then that's about the best thing you can do.
I think that I'm in the same boat as many people where, over the years, training and stuff, it's become more of a way to, once especially me and most of my buddies got married and had kids and got houses and have grown throughout the years. I turned 30 next month, so I'm old in this space, right? And most of my buddies are around the same age. Is that we kind of lost sight of the entire purpose of things, and it became more of a guys just getting out to hang out, and then this is also what we're going to do to hang out. You know what I mean?
Man, that's not always a bad thing, man. I mean, if you enjoy it,
well, it builds the camaraderie for sure.
Yeah,
it builds the companionship and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that I with this, I think that guys need to remember you can't just be upset and angry. The reality of the situation is that that's one, just going to cloud judgment heavily, but two, if you just absolutely take everything super serious all the time, nobody's going to like to be around you. And you can come up with, good training events and stuff without taking everything, absolutely super serious and just be angry and jaded. But the problem that I had was that it was, I was still coming up with exercises and force on force stuff and, XYZ, and some events were good, some events were bad, and that's just the way that it works. And unseen circumstances always happen, and sometimes I'm more of all right, we'll just index it and just hang out or whatever. But I think that recently with the recent events, it kind of put that fire under me to remember this is the whole point of doing this stuff. This is the whole point of
it's you woke up, you're oh yeah, this is why, this is the whole reason. Now people want to cause me and people like me harm. So
that's fine, man. It's a hard thing to rotate through your mind because it's very jarring when you meet it. It's it's a very jarring thing to have to think about. But I like I said, I think it should be a motivating factor. It shouldn't be like, it shouldn't push us into the same pitfalls they're falling under, where they're like nihilistic, like everything is fine. And I'm not saying we are, but like yeah, man, you know, these people. What is it? How grateful we should be that our enemies are so incompetent and fucking like inept that when they try to do their fucking big set piece operations, it's just fucking it's pissing up a rope. It's worthless. It's a fucking, no one even remembers who some of these people are. It's genuinely like laughable how they act. So just train harder. Just fucking, you know, you train harder so that, you know, when these laughable fucking jokers come to burn your house, you roll them the fuck up. Or, you know, if you're law enforcement or whatever, you know, and you're coming up on their stupid little hideout to go serve the arrest warrant. Hey, guess what, man? You guys by the time you're reaching for that SKS, the handcuff's already around your fucking wrist, dude. You're already on the ground.
Like, well, I think that the other problem too is that I think that the people that are worrisome or that should be seen as more of a serious adversary are quieter, and they're
and they always will be. They always will be. You're probably never going to see the most competent hands until they're already tipped in their job as well in their operation. But that's why you train, man. That's why you train. At the end of the day, that's just all it is you just got to drive to be better. You just got to drive to be ready for.
Oh, that's a good motivating thing to not like lose sight, right? Is like,
yeah, and I agree. Understand your enemies exist and they want you dead, but that's okay because, you know, you have a say in it. And every day you train, every moment you fucking, you know, you go for a run, every time you go roll at the martial arts gym, every time you hit the range, every time you're in the field training, every time you're studying, you're getting better than them.
That's just something I forgot, I guess.
And it's easy to forget because
like you have enemies. You know what I mean? Even in a nice, cushy world in America, I love the United States, but even here, I have enemies. So,
and you've
my life for Pakistan.
And the unfortunate reality is you've always had these enemies. These people have always hated you, whether you've known it or not. Now you're just aware of it, and
that's what I mean by losing sight. So I think that, like, you know, in obviously, like, we've waited a long time to talk about this stuff. You know, this whole thing happened like a month plus ago, because right now we're recording this on October 16th, and so I think that letting it set in for a little bit,
definitely,
and seeing who's still like working off the momentum that it caused, that's a good sight, and that's a good metric. I would say is that, you know, like within my group of guys, you know, guys just started posting stuff that we'll see. Like I see stuff all the time online of screenshots of people on like Reddit and these other deplorable websites, which, by the way, if you're on Reddit, get off of it for so many reasons. But, you know, you'll see people on here and there'll be screenshots of people still cheering about it and still like laughing about it, making memes and stuff like that. Even just recently, somebody in my group posted in like the one chat that this somewhat local page that is like trying to assemble people and stuff. And so I think that this is where people need to like start focusing on things and you know, start trying to boost how you figure out like intelligence gathering and like the support side of things and become a little bit more serious than just like, hey, let's go out in the woods and set up a campfire and then like
shoot at trash,
hang out here for 24 hours and maybe walk around our site. And then after this, we're going to go shoot into trash.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I would like to see. And like Tyler and I were talking about this on the way home the other day. And it's kind of like, I think now that we've kind of got an understanding of the situation as it is, and it is as serious as we think it is, I think perhaps we'll have to kind of adjust it in the same way that you joke around with your friends that you train with. And there's a time for that. And then there's a time for being serious. And I think there's a lot of good information out there that we could possibly push to you guys from guys like, like Gio was talking about, like the guys at Forward Observer. And there's a lot of resources out there for stuff that's going to be extra pertinent now that you guys listening to this are aware of, but it'd be nice, I think we're going to start talking a bit more about things that you can do to sort of, stuff you've heard before, but stuff that is probably going to be a bit more practical for right now. But I've got to run. I've got a lot of toilets to clean at ASOG in the morning. So I will leave you with a quote. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us.
Very nice. I love
that's from. Yeah, I was going to make a joke and say that was from Con Air, but
yeah, that's actually from Titanic. Pinocchio and Titanic.
Anyway, good night, boys. God bless you.
Later.
See ya.
I guess something else I want to say is you can't forget the resources that are like it's sometimes easy to think of problems as like I'm holding a hammer. This problem is a nail in my view. Sure, but like, and then this is going to probably catch me some flack, but if you really are, whoever's listening, if you're concerned about some group out there that's local to you, that's conducting, and you're worried they're conducting operations, this and that, you always have the option of sending in a tip to law enforcement. I mean, you're never going to have a more favorable law enforcement, at least on the federal level, view of how to tackle these people that are criminals. And don't forget this. A lot of these types are not just solely their habits are well formed through other sets of criminality. In my jurisdiction, the commissioner is very clear about he doesn't care if we have to roll up a gang member on like a DUI charge, because putting him in jail over a DUI, while it's not what we want to get them on their actual crimes, but they commit plenty of other crimes as well. They can't do shit when they're locked up in a fucking cell. If you get evidence of their criminality in other ways and you send in a credible tip to it, you can do a lot of these tips anonymously too. Like they've set up these systems, Crime Stoppers and whatnot. That's an avenue that's very easy, takes very little amount of your time. And if it's very identifiable and you're sending it in as like a report, I'm not saying you're kicking the can over to someone else. You kind of are, but like you're doing your part in making sure that these criminals, because that's what they are, they're criminals. A lot of these types are heavily involved in drug, sexual crimes. Quite a bit of them are sex offenders. A lot of them are felons. They shouldn't be owning a firearm. Why do they have a firearm in these pictures? Stuff like that. And the hope is that someone in the law enforcement capacity will see it and treat it as a credible tip. And they're like, fuck, man, we got to arrest this guy. This guy's a sex offender and he's over here not allowed to have guns and he's holding a fucking, that's very clearly a rifle he's holding. Let's investigate. And, it's a very easy way where I don't want to say you keep your hands clean, but you're letting the proper authorities deal with it. And you're not going to have these circumstances where the authorities, it's like, you don't know if it's going to happen again, or you're going to have the authorities so hell bent on making sure that these people are prosecuted and put before the court. So it's kind of like a lame way of calling it, but like, fuck, man, if you got to call the police as your first step, I mean, at least you can sleep soundly at night knowing like the proper authorities, hopefully are going to look into this and they're going to do things above the board, hopefully, and they're going to handle it, and you train for the moments where these guys slip through the cracks or they don't. And that's just what it is. You can't really you can't doom and gloom yourself into you can't defeat yourself when you have all these resources to win, like you think, a lot of these Antifa types or whatever are throwing bricks at fucking ICE agents and shit. But the moment someone can positively identify them and send in a tip, more often than not, you'll hear about these cops going and serving a warrant. And it's like, hey man, what's this what's this video of you throwing rocks at our fucking cars? You know that's assaulting a federal agent, right? You know that's a fucking felony. So you know where you're coming. You're coming with me to custody, like, and you know the police handle it from there. It's very easy in our sphere to discount that route, and it's very easy for me to say it as a cop, right? And not a cop in the U.S., but as a police nonetheless. And it's you know it's some people might see it as lame, but I mean, fuck, it's the option that's there. It's the law and order option right there. You're literally using the prescribed people to handle these issues, and you're giving them credible information. And, you know, if you're using your intel, you gather your appropriate intel and you send what's pertinent to the proper authorities, and maybe they fix it. They serve a warrant, they make an arrest, and, you know, maybe they get a witness statement from you to establish where that came from. You give a statement, maybe you stand in court, but that is how these people are defeated. It's how insurgencies to a degree were also defeated, because
it's really a way to start cleaning out like the first wave.
Yeah, these people are stupid and they're weak and they're morons. They commit crimes with impunity, and they love to talk in their gay little chat rooms about how fucking cool they are because they threw a rock at a fucking ICE car while wearing a mask. And it's like, all right, that's fine, dude. You've been positively identified because despite all of this, your tradecraft is poor, and you know you're fucking gloating about this shit. And that's great, man. That's fucking great, because this is going to be really funny to be read back to you in court. So, like,
well, the other thing too is that they've been for the last 10, 15 years or so. Well, I guess ever since the internet really started taking off, they've never had to be worried about putting their name out there or their identity or anything like that, because
with this Charlie Kirk thing, you saw how many people got fired from their jobs for it.
Exactly.
It was a big uproar. And you know, just yesterday I was reading that foreigners had their visas revoked or denied over making those comments. I mean, fuck, dude, these people aren't even being let into the country. They're telling them, hey, you can go kick fucking rocks.
Yeah, it's something where like they've never had to deal with the even the concept of like
good. They love to bring up the red flag stuff or whatever. Well, guess what, motherfucker? That blade cuts both ways, and it's lame, and a lot of guys don't like to hear it. But I mean, fuck, man, it is a avenue that is relatively safe for you. And, you know, you don't ever have to pick up a rifle. You just got to pick up a phone and a notebook and, you know, do your research and identify them and forward it to the jurisdiction. And fuck, man, let the police handle it.
That's even one reason why, like, the escalation of force, I think, is going to be a lot of doxing and then counter doxing. And we're seeing that right now where people are looking at, they're finding other people that are like, you know, posting pro Charlie Kirk assassination things, and then they're reporting it to their employers, and then their employers are taking action on it and whatnot. But then you see these people that are countering that, where they're finding, I think that I read this, and I may be completely wrong on this, but there was a site that was built by those that were like, oh no, never mind, I'm mixing up two events. Anyway, there's an entire website that was made to put in, like, basically show people that had been saying pro Charlie Kirk assassination stuff online, and like where they work and all that stuff, like basically like a doxing website. And I'm sure that they're working, because that's the other thing too, is that generally speaking, those people, the quote unquote leftists, have sort of a monopoly on like tech, right? Like a lot of them flock toward that as their main profession and as their main like discipline.
Yeah, they like to wear programmer socks when they get fucked by their boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, they sort of have a monopoly on that. Like if you think of your average corn-fed like good boy, he's not on the computer most times. He's like doing stuff or whatever. But anyway,
he's actually being a productive member of society.
Which, you know, that's kind of where the issue therein lies, is that the guy that has a personal Facebook account and is sharing stuff and saying that like it'd be funny to commit actions against somebody else. Like, he doesn't understand the weight of the situation, like the gravity of things, and he doesn't understand that posting stuff like that, eventually they're going to find him and potentially target him just for that stuff. I mean, the everything just keeps coming back around to the fact that somebody with very moderate ideas was assassinated, and so there's always the other side of things, where it's like, okay, well, was it really, the guy that they say did it, or what were his motivations? What was any sort of potential like MK Ultra style programming behind that, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, all those questions are valid, right? But at the end of the day, this guy died. This guy had a wife and kids, and even though I may not have agreed with a lot of his political points, I would say that I would be fully capable of sitting down at a table with him and having a good conversation, and like, being fine with that fact. And he has a wife and kids, and he was killed, and people are celebrating it. So I think that on one hand, yeah, it's important to ask the question of like, well, why was he killed, and who did it, and what was the motive, and the accomplices, and things like that. But I think that the more important thing to focus on is the fact that, yes, he was killed. And even if he doesn't, even if he wasn't, like, even I've seen people say that he wasn't actually killed because of whatever, it was like a fake thing and whatnot. No, he's just like in some sort of private space. Regardless, people are celebrating the fact that it may or may not have happened. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but you have to give like so many disclaimers on the internet these days. I hate it. People are celebrating that fact, and the fact that he has kids and stuff like that. And people were even saying that, like, multiple people were saying that the next target should be his wife, so that way his kids grow up in foster care and get a proper education. Like, who says stuff like that?
They're sick people, man. But how grateful, like I said, how grateful must we be to have such an outwardly evil enemy, to just like be able to identify them. It's so fucking clear. You just look at them and you're like, dog, you are fucking scum. You are worthless. You are
and that's
beneath.
what I really think is where we think of like the first, second, third line of the op4, so to speak, is that, the ones that are easy to identify themselves generally are going to be the least of a threat. And it's like anything else, right? Like yes, in this case, I would fully say that there's like a uniform fighting force where they have, colored hair. It's easy, right? Like,
sure, they're a uniform fighting force. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that. But like I said, man, I just don't see. They're easily identifiable. They commit crimes and other outside of their extremist views because they're criminals, and they, at the end of the day, these guys are going to do whatever they want. And when they do it and they get properly arrested or killed, depending on what the severity of their actions and what the response is from whoever, like, that's to some degree got to be discouraging to the other ones. If you know that imagine you knowing that like 8 of the dudes in your little commune or whatever are about to go hit a federal building, and they're going to attack whoever's inside and shoot at them. And then they fucking fail spectacularly and get ridiculed. Think about the demoralizing aspect of that. How many of these killers might have killed themselves before ever setting foot on, stepping off on their operation, just because of the demoralizing effect? And that's why I think the law enforcement aspect of it is just as good. Imagine having to hear horror stories of these people from jail, and these are like your comrades or whatever, and they're in prison and they're telling these horror stories about how horrible jail is, and they're going to be there for the next 5, 6, 7, however many years. Even if it's just 1 year, that's 1 year that they're not capable of conducting operations. That extremist is out of the fight, and you're not even. I'd argue the arrest is even more potent because, yeah, he's still alive, sure, but he's no longer a martyr. He's just arrested. He's just sitting in fucking jail. Eventually, someone's going to stop paying his commissary. Eventually,
Yeah.
he's going to stop getting phone calls and letters, and good, go fuck yourself, like you fucking bitch. Like it's to some degree got to be demoralizing to them, and it's a conflict on many fronts, right? Any front where even just these people getting ratioed online, that they're seething at it when they put their fucking lame little tweet, and then someone else comments, or they get the reader's added context, and it just gets bodied. And they just it's a quick little reminder like, hey man, you think that people care about what you have to say, but they really fucking don't. A lot of people, there's plenty of people out there that said things like, I want to see Charlie Kirk dead, but there's just as many, if not more people saying like, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're a scumbag. I don't have to associate with you. And you're a criminal. I know you're a criminal in these ways, and soon the judgment will be passed either in this life or the next onto you. So there's no, like, you do your part, even if it's sending in tips to the police or fucking compiling the information or preparing for the inevitable day, or, at least being able to identify and keep tabs on them. You're a step ahead. They might not know who you are, but you sure as fuck know who they are. And there's a certain, like, you're a step ahead of them. You've identified the foe, but they haven't identified you. And while you'll probably never go kinetic against them in the way that we train, you do have those other avenues, to disrupt them. You disrupt their operations. If they had a well-paying job, or they were like middle management somewhere and they get fired for their fucking comments on the internet, you've now removed their avenue for funding themselves and funding their operations. And you might push them into worse places, but that's of their own doing. Just as much as, you and I both know through the faith side of things, you can repent. You can be a horrible person, but you find Jesus and you change your ways, and you repent and you atone for your sins, and you become a better person. You become a Christian, and then that's hopefully the goal, is these people see the error of their ways and they change. But if they don't, we know that more often than not, it's disruptive to them. They can't. A lot of these guys are self-funded. That's why they're so they have all this shitty equipment. They're buying these surplus MSA Millennium masks. They're fucking buying Condor plate carriers. They're not wealthy fucking people. Yeah, some of them might have backers behind them, but are their backers really that much more competent? They might know how to assemble, sure. And, the people like Mike Shelby bring up a good point in that, they know how to organize this and that. But, the war is fought on many fronts. Sure, you have influences. You have influence in this tech world, but the moment that the hand, you force the corporate hand to fire you because, hey man, you're too volatile to keep here and it's too much heat. That pressure is getting too high. Guess what? That 6-figure job is now gone, and they got to figure out how they're going to pay for their crippling Funko Pop and the Bad Dragon dildo addiction. And it's not, good. Put them on the streets, make them destitute, make them worry, make them look over their shoulder, make them think the next time they press fucking send on a tweet, because remind them that their view is unpopular. Remind them that they are in multiple different ways. They are under the microscope, and you can ruin a man's life in many ways to where he's begging to die. But you don't ever have to fire a single shot, but you fucking disrupt him. You prevent his ability to coherently plan. You prevent his ability to fund his operations. You prevent his ability to organize, because the moment these people get declared persona non grata from people that might have been swayed by their views, guess what? No, we can't listen to that guy. He got fired because he's fucking crazy psychopath saying that, these people should be assassinated. It's like, I don't want to associate with that weirdo, because the average person just wants a good job and a decent life, and to raise kids. Like, I thoroughly believe that. And the people that don't, they're isolated in these shitty urban communities, and they can eat rat soup from the bodega for the rest of their lives. I couldn't care less. Or they can, blow their brains out in their fucking room after realizing that they're losers. Or they come to Christ and they change their ways, and they become better people, and they look back at it as like, man, I was lost then, but now I'm found.
That was
So,
the dark time.
yeah. So hopefully they reach that point. But like I said, man, a lot of guys, it's easy to forget that while there are avenues that everyone wants to see the great apocalyptic fight against them and defeat them in battle with full honor. We do live in a society that does allow us to seek other. The times have changed, and the battle is not solely waged in the physical realm. It's waged on the internet. It's waged in the spiritual realm. It's waged in many other places.
The fifth
In the financial realm.
warfare.
It really is, dude. And you can disrupt these people. You can defeat them in many ways, and they're losers, man. You see them and they're losers. They'll get what's coming to them, whether it's today, tomorrow, a week from now, a year from now, whenever. The veil has been pulled, and I'd say if Charlie Kirk's assassination did anything very significant, I'd say that was it. He kind of pulled the fucking veil off, and now we see a lot of these people for who they are. And fuck, man, you threw the first blow, but it was such a lame one that not the assassination, but what these people are saying online. And hey, man, your employer's information is public. They have an HR, and all it takes is you and a few of your homies to decide to start using that old tool that they love and held so near and dear to their hearts. Start using it against them. Yeah, well, you tried to get me fired from my job for not getting a COVID vaccine. Well, now I'm going to get you fired from yours for fucking saying some heinous shit. And me denying a vaccine is nowhere near as bad, especially in retrospect now with all the vaccine side effects, this and that. Well, it's nowhere near as bad.
Everything coming out basically saying that the entire thing should be avoided.
Yeah. So imagine this is you've now got this significant countermeasure being played against it. So the game is the great chess game is being played, and I am cautiously optimistic about it. I think that there are avenues to defeat them that aren't going to them and getting into a firefight. And you can take away their livelihood, you can take away their social stranding, and yes, does it radicalize them more? Yes, but it also crushes their will. And as you and I both know, the will to fight is such a significant thing. Could you imagine working with Marines that are oh, I don't want to close with and destroy the enemy?
Gee, dude, I'm on the field, bro. I hurt my leg.
Yeah, no, and those aren't real Marines, but the real Marines are the dudes out there dude, I don't give a fuck if the Chinese throw a whole goddamn brigade against me. I'm gonna start cutting through them with a bayonet, because that's what I am. I'm a fucking Marine,
Yeah.
Those are the guys you want.
I think that's a good point too, is that I think in conclusion, the bluff or at the end, I guess, whatever bottom line at the end, the blate is that the entire atmospherics have shifted, and I think that everything is under scrutiny now. I think that it's safe to assume that depending on what pages you follow and whatnot, you're actively being monitored to some degree by these people that want you killed, because you using tech for we've been pondering some ways to use tech to start gathering intel on things. There's definitely a lot of stuff that you can theoretically do with it. And if you know what you're doing, the internet is not a private place. No matter how much you want to make it your immediate sphere private, it's not.
No.
And so, the atmospherics have shifted. It's safe to assume that to some degree you're being monitored online by these people. And on the bright side, I would say that there's finally an instance where, or I don't want to say finally like that, but I would say that at this time, the instance is that the government and the law enforcement, all that stuff is on our side, is on this side of the whole ordeal. And so that's definitely a blessing in the fact that, not only that, but that a lot of these people are just incompetent and they're trying to correct years and years of not having to worry about their digital footprint and not have to worry about what they post online or anything like that. And so you look, and a lot of these people have given you all the information to where they live, and where it's not that difficult to figure out who these people are. And then, like you said, I think that's a really interesting point, is that the anonymous tips and stuff is definitely another way to disrupt them. And obviously, it's not going to be like immediate get them off the streets kind of thing, but it is a way to let them know that like people are monitoring them. It's a good way to send the message that like
no man,
it's a little bit of like a thing.
The tables have turned, and now they're the ones looking over their shoulder, and that's fine by me.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as someone who, I'm not had to literally look over my shoulder, but like the Overton window shifted, and it shifted in our favor. And use the tools that are there while they're available, because they won't always be available. So,
yeah, definitely. I agree with that. All right, we're starting to get connection issues. I think that's a sign. Regardless, thanks for listening.